Alright, hello guys. Today, it's me and Sri. It's a bit of a sad day today. I'm wearing black. It's a day of mourning. Sri, I see you're wearing green.
Yeah.
In support of the Eagles, our fallen Eagles. And there is our resident head ass.
How about them Chiefs?
I don't know.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Am I right? Fly, Eagles, fly. They did not fly yesterday.
I thought he was still drunk off his victory, but he's not.
I'm not drunk. I am high as a kite right now. High as a kite on Patrick Mahomes.
I've never seen him this hyped up for the Steelers, I don't think.
Look.
Yeah, seriously.
Look. Well, first of all, welcome to On the Turf, hosted by three guys who have never been on the turf. My name is Arjun Ryan.
I'm Sri Khanda.
And I'm Ron Patel.
And we had just a fantastic Super Bowl yesterday, didn't we? The Kansas City Chiefs came out on top. Sorry, could you shove down a little bit? I just need to be in the center of the frame. The Kansas City Chiefs won 38-35 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. An absolute masterclass by these two. And look.
An absolute masterclass by the refs, too, I would say.
Oh, my. All right. Cry me a river. All right. The Chiefs won. The Chiefs won this game. And Patrick Mahomes. Look. As we've gone through this entire season, I've had quite the character arc with Patrick Mahomes. But now I just admit he is the LeBron of the NFL, and we will be having debates in 20 years about whether it's Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. And many people will say Patrick Mahomes, many people will say Tom Brady. But the point is that Patrick Mahomes is in a league of his own, and he won that Super Bowl for Kansas City against the Eagles team. And
here's the thing: I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, Mahomes is on a level of his own. I respect Mahomes. I think that he is. I'll already say he is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. I'm not going to deny that.
He is.
I'm disappointed because obviously I was wrong with who I picked. I thought Mahomes would be a bit more hindered, but he wasn't. The Eagles, I thought, played an equally great game, but just came up short. They gave Mahomes the ball last, and that's never a recipe for success.
Look, I know we'll talk about the Eagles in a little bit, but I just want to go back to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And I want to shout out Andy Reid, right?
Yeah.
Andy Reid, this was the best game of his storied career as a head coach and as a play caller. I mean, all you need to look at is those two touchdowns, the first to Kadarius Toney, the second to Sky Moore. Same play, but he drew up a play that got the Eagles corners essentially confused both times. He said, we'll fool you twice. We don't care because we'll score both times. And this was a dual effort between Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, who both came up big. And like I said, these two are at the top of their game last week, right? I said these two are the top of their profession right now, and those are the people that win, quarterback and head coach. And I want to shout out the Chiefs offensive line, who let up one pressure, I think. Zero sacks against that storied Eagles defensive line. But I will say this. I was right about the Eagles defense. I'll take that victory lap. I was right about the Eagles defense that they were not who they were, talked about to be. They faced a lot of inferior offenses and quarterbacks. But I was wrong about the Eagles offense. And I will admit that.
And specifically who?
Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. Both of them proved me wrong yesterday. And Jalen Hurts, look, I think that's one of the best quarterback performances by a losing quarterback in the Super Bowl in a very, very long time. Maybe second to Tom Brady against the Eagles 4 years ago. But Jalen Hurts played out of his mind. He played like a Super Bowl MVP last night. And, this Eagles team is set up to be a competing team as long as he is there. And Nick Sirianni, as long as he is there as well, they'll be good.
Have you finished your victory lap? You finished your rant? Okay.
Yeah.
Sri, do you have anything to say, Sri?
My immediate reaction to the Super Bowl was, how Arjun was going to react on this podcast. It wasn't even about
really, Sri? For me,
it wasn't even about the Eagles. It was about Arjun's reaction on this podcast. And man, I feel so bad for the Eagles. I feel so bad for Jason Kelsey. I feel so bad for him. This is just so sad. He just seems like the type of guy that you want to see win. You don't want to see
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but I wanted to see him win again. I didn't want to see him go home. And now I see Jalen Hurts put up an amazing performance. And, that one fumble that he had, credit to the Chiefs defense, right? But I just feel so bad. Like I have no words. Like I have no like.
Okay, why are we acting? No one died, guys. The Eagles are gonna be fine.
Feels like someone died.
Yeah.
But here's the thing with the Eagles. Well, I'll start with the Eagles first. I mean, like you said, Jalen Hurts MVP performance. I think a lot of the predictions, a lot of the analysis we had last week, this game kind of flew right in the face of it, right? I mean, like think
Maybe
about
your
like,
predictions.
Shut up. No, like we talked about this Eagles team. We thought they were going to come out, try to make the game easier for Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they ran a lot of their offense through Hurts, and it proved to be the right decision. I think Hurts did all he could outside of that fumble, that one mishap, that arguably, could have lost them the game, essentially, considering this was a one-score game. I'm not going to hold that against him. But, I mean, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 touchdown through the air. He was on point with all of his deep passes, I thought, yesterday. Handled the Chiefs blitz extremely, extremely well. I think he only got sacked once, too.
Mm-hmm.
He was their leading rusher, did everything in the past game. I think you couldn't have asked him to do anything more. I think he was the best player on the field, undoubtedly. On Sunday.
Both sides of the ball?
On both sides of the ball. I mean,
I gotta say the Chiefs O-line. I think they were the best players in this game.
Yeah. Best player, sure, but I mean, if you're talking about a singular player, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, best player, best stats, everything was there for him. I do think, and I hate to say it, but I think that the people around him really let him down. His running game could not get going, and I thought that really hurt them. When their defense was getting torn up by Mahomes in the second half, they couldn't run the ball to keep control. They had to keep going to the hands of Hurts and Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. I talked all about them last week, and I thought that they would be able to run the game through them, but it just wasn't there, unfortunately. And the Eagles defense, again, this is a team that, again, they had the most sacks the entire year, and not by a small margin, over 70 sacks in the regular season. Couldn't come up with anything. I thought that was going to be another key for the game. And on the other side of the ball, I thought Mahomes is going to have to do everything for this Chiefs team. I thought he was going to be the one who, he's going to have over 300 yards of passing. He's going to have to be making some crazy plays. But I think that a large part of this, the huge defensive touchdown, some really, really key defensive stops in the second half. But a really unsung hero, I think, in this game was Isaiah Pacheco.
I think the whole running game.
Yeah, the whole running game. But Pacheco was the bell cow for that backfield. Yeah, I think he had 15 carries, over 70 yards rushing, and a touchdown. Whenever this team needed to control the ball, especially in that last drive, Pacheco was there. I mean, he was averaging 4 or 5 yards a carry against what was supposed to be a pretty solid run defense. And I think without a player like him, without what he brought to that game, they're not winning that.
Yeah.
Again, Mahomes is efficient. But he had less than 200 yards passing. I said he was very efficient. He had a fantastic game. He deserves Super Bowl MVP. Don't get me wrong. When they called his number, he was there. He came up with a huge 20-yard run as well in that last drive, and his ankle looked completely fine. So Mahomes had a near perfect game. But I will say that rushing game from Kansas City provided them a huge boost that I didn't think they would be getting.
Yeah, completely agree. I know, just for me, like I feel like everyone except Jalen Hurts' receivers let him down. Everyone, like that prized O-line that you have from the Eagles, like I was watching the game, like he was able to get out of the pocket, throw some amazing dots to his receivers. They let him down. Those receivers. AJ. I called AJ Brown to be the MVP, right? Just like. And he had some amazing plays. That touchdown, that was beautiful. And even that, everyone was thinking about how that ball Jalen Hurts threw was like, a little off, but that was perfect. He needed it to be off because like those two receivers would have intercepted it. Sorry, the safety and the corner would have intercepted it. Like that was a very well placed ball. Like he genuinely didn't do like anything wrong. And like Arjun was saying it from before, like they were gonna pressure Jalen Hurts. Like he rose to the occasion. He did everything right. For me, like, I've been on this, like, Eagles defense. Like, they have 2 top 10 corners. You have amazing safeties. You got probably the best, maybe not the best, but probably one of the best pass rushers in the league. I know it's the Chiefs offense, but you can't expect to win a game when your so-called best defense in the league or one of the best defenses in the league are letting up that many points. Like, despite how good your offense is. And Jalen Hurts did everything. But it's Mahomes. It's that last minute field goal. It is what it is. But shout out to the Eagles. Seriously.
Yeah. My big thing was that it's not even that the Chiefs had quick plays drawn up to get the ball that fast. I mean, there were a few of those, obviously, like on the 2 touchdowns. But for the most part, Mahomes actually had time. You know, he had time in the pocket. He got to sit back, read the defense, find Kelsey or find Juju Smith-Schuster, former Steeler. Congrats to you guys, came up big.
I love you, Juju.
Okay, let's chill. He didn't
miss you.
The Steelers didn't win.
I miss you.
But again, the Mahomes had plenty of time, and I just don't know how this vaunted pass rush couldn't get much going. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about that holding call. Okay. Here's the thing. I mean, we heard James Bradberry obviously got called for that hold on Juju at the end of the game. At first, I will say I was annoyed by it. I mean, it looked like the wrong call based on a primary view.
I agree.
I don't think the ball was catchable, or even if he wasn't held, I don't think he was going to catch that ball, which makes it even more frustrating. But I mean, you heard Bradberry talk after the game. I saw the other angle. Yeah, he did tug the jersey. That's gonna be a flag 9 out of 10 times.
I think the more important thing is that is a hold, right?
It is a hold.
No, but the thing is that things were close to that throughout the game that were not called.
Yeah,
and especially
which is more frustrating.
The time and place that it was called, given that. I mean, look, the Eagles still could have lost this game regardless of that call. Let's say that it's 4th and 13, the Chiefs kick a field goal, but it effectively is a game-deciding play, not a game-clinching play, right?
Yeah.
And I get it's there's no easy answer to that call, right? Which is why I get why the refs called it, right? The refs don't call it, and
they'll
then
be equally flamed.
We're watching replays of that when the Eagles, let's say, take it to overtime and win in overtime, right?
Yeah, no. It'd be an issue either way. And I will say the Eagles got some favorable calls. The Devontae Smith catch, the Dallas Goedert catch, 2 deep throws.
The Miles Sanders fumble.
Yeah. There were a few plays that were very, very iffy, that because the call on the field either went with the Eagles, it just sort of helped them out. So as much as I want to say the refs sold the game for the Eagles, it is hard to pin that when – again, that play, it is technically a hold. It's very unfortunate that the game had to end like that, because otherwise it was shaping up to be it was an all-time Super Bowl, I think.
Yeah.
But it could have had an absolute banger ending that we just unfortunately didn't get.
So kind of putting a bow on the Super Bowl, right, and putting a bow on the season, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes, right? Because he was the Super Bowl MVP, and let's talk about this Chiefs team that's been on quite the run since 2018. So I'm going to say this. In my opinion, Super Bowl, he broke the MVP curse.
Yeah.
One MVP, one Super Bowl MVP, first time since Kurt Warner, I think, in 1999. I think this is the greatest season ever for a quarterback.
Oh.
Ever?
I can't.
Whoa.
Led most offensive yards in NFL history. MVP. Played on a bum leg in the playoffs. Gets his team to the Super Bowl. Wins the Super Bowl not with a great performance by him. And wins Super Bowl MVP. There's been great seasons before. Obviously, you can turn back the clock and say, Dan Marino and, Peyton Manning have all these great quarters, the 55 touchdowns Peyton Manning threw in the 2013 season. But what happened in the playoffs? They got destroyed by the Seahawks.
That's true.
No quarterback has put together everything in the season like Patrick Mahomes in the 2022 season. So I think, personally, this is the best season ever for a quarterback. I don't know what you guys think.
I don't know. I see where you're coming from. I just think that I think this is – I get what you're saying. Like, this is most consistency, I guess, throughout, the entire season. I just think there's been better seasons in terms of a quarterback really wowing you with, what they did on the field.
But if they got to the top of the mountain.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. But, I would you could make the argument that maybe Patrick Mahomes' first MVP, I mean, statistically had a better year in the regular season. I think you would say, if you looked at – again, I know this is not your point, but if you looked at regular season only, you would say easily the first MVP was better than the second.
But
right?
I will say one thing, right? Let's turn the clocks back a year. This guy didn't have Tyreek Hill either this season.
That's true.
We were walking into the season thinking they may not win the division or not even make the playoffs.
Yeah. I don't know about – so what I'll say is I don't know if this is the best performance by a quarterback in an entire year, but I will say it arguably might be the most impressive if you're kind of getting the distinction I'm trying to make. With what the weapons he had, with the storyline, I get why it's the most impressive. But best, I feel like you can point to some other seasons. You can point to even Tom Brady's 16-0 season, Peyton Manning breaking the passing touchdown record that season, or when he led the league in passing as well. There's a few seasons that I can point out that you can make argument for best just because of the sheer numbers behind them. But I do think that I see your argument why this could be the most impressive season by a quarterback with everything he's done.
Now, we have a lot of offseason stuff I think we need to get to that we haven't talked about as much during the playoffs. We've had a bunch of new coaching hires and quarterbacks who are obviously about to be on the move as we head into the offseason. So let's start off with these coaching hires. The biggest one of them all, the Broncos, as Sri, you predicted all the way back, I think, in December, around Christmas time. Yeah. Sean Payton is the Broncos' new head coach. Let's ride. Russ and Payton are together. On the these other coaching vacancies, D'Amico Ryans, 49ers defensive coordinator in Houston, former player, should be able to help steer the rebuild there. Frank Reich, former coach of the Colts, onto the Panthers now. And this is not official yet, but Shane Steichen, the Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator, is likely to be head coach of the Colts next year. The Cardinals still haven't hired anyone. Rohan, do you have any? It seems that they're narrowed it down, I think, to Lou Anarumo, who's the Bengals defensive coordinator, and Jonathan Gannon, who is the Eagles defensive coordinator, who put on just a spectacular performance last night against Patrick Mahomes. But look, we're not going to talk about the Cardinals until they hired one.
Thank you.
But
your team isn't significant enough, bro.
Yeah.
Shut up. No. I'm an Arizona sports fan. But I'm going to hang up my Cardinals jersey for the off season, maybe for some next season too. Right now, I'm a sole Suns fan.
Yeah, big thing for the Suns. Big things happen for the Suns.
But the one that stands out to me the most is, I think, Frank Reich. That's because, obviously I should preface, Sean Payton, huge coaching hire. We talked about that one before. He's going to have a big impact on the trajectory of that franchise and getting the most out of Russell Wilson. But the Panthers and the NFC South, I think, are arguably going to be the most interesting division next year. Without Tom Brady, there's no real head of the pack, I think, here. The Panthers, surprisingly, finished second in this division last year with a quarterback carousel. Now you put Frank Reich, who is supposed to be sort of a quarterback whisperer, get the most out of young quarterbacks, and now you're wondering, so what are the Panthers' intentions here? Are they going to get a veteran, in the name of maybe Derek Carr, Jimmy Garappolo, etc., someone like that? Or is this a move that they're doing because they're planning on drafting? They hired Josh McCown as a quarterbacks coach, who's really gushed about C.J. Stroud. You wonder, are they going to trade up? Is he going to follow them? But do they trade up for C.J. Stroud, maybe Bryce Young, maybe Will Levis, and then they have Frank Reich develop? Or do you say maybe this is a team that can make the playoffs with the current roster, and do you go out and get a veteran quarterback and have them play? With this Frank Reich hire, I think they're going the younger route.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why else you hire a coach like that. And if you do, I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see how he handles that, because arguably whoever is the next quarterback of the Panthers could be a future star if they pick a top one in the first round.
Yeah, I'll just quickly agree. I think this one, Tree, I know you. Well, I'll let you talk about Sean Payton since you've been on this story probably before Ian Rappaport was. I think those two things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. I think the Panthers can draft a rookie quarterback, and they can still compete in this division with how, frankly, shitty the rest of these teams are.
That's true.
I will say I want to shout out D'Amico Ryans to the Texans. Mm-hmm. I think the Texans are going to have a turnaround this year, maybe not a playoff turnaround, but I think they'll be very competitive this year. I think D'Amico can build a really good culture there. They've got some defensive players. They've got a lot of picks, too.
Mm-hmm. It comes down to who they draft a quarterback, too, I think.
And I think they could go C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. I think it's at two, you can go either way. It'll be interesting to see where they go. But obviously, Sri, floor is yours. Let's talk about Sean Payton really quickly.
Yeah, I'm just going to preface by saying that you got to be a special kind of bad to take Russell Wilson and, turn him into, basically a bottom five quarterback. So I think any elevation from Nathaniel Hackett is a net positive, by a lot, right? And now you're pairing up Russell Wilson with arguably a top 3 coach in the NFL when he was there. I think
okay.
2-3.
I see the argument. I see the argument.
Top 3 is a lot. Top 3 is a little revisionist. I don't know.
Top 3 consistency wise, I see what you're saying.
This Sean Payton, the work he's done with Drew Brees. As much as he's done, after Drew Brees' retirement, he came out a year, he's back in it. Denver Broncos have an amazing roster. I don't care about the Chiefs, even though I agree that Patrick Mahomes is good. I think
Sri, don't fall into this trap. I did this last year. Don't do this. Don't do this.
No. But in all honesty, I think the Chiefs. Sorry, go ahead. I think the Broncos are gonna have a pretty amazing turnaround. I think that the only thing that we thought was holding them back was a quarterback, and then we found out that we were getting Russell Wilson, and then we found out that he was getting a shitty Nathaniel Hackett paired up with him. But if there's one thing that's holding this team back now, it's the coach. They got the coach. They are ready to make a jump. I'm ready to see this team. Like, I have Broncos friends at school who have been like they were going crazy when they found out that Sean Payton.
Yeah, no.
I think Sean Payton is going to be amazing for the Denver Broncos. I think this is going to be an exciting year for them. I wouldn't be surprised if they honestly win the division, though. That's just me, though.
All right.
Okay.
Sri saying let's ride.
Okay.
But on the subject of quarterbacks, let's talk about the quarterback carousel, right? We got a lot of quarterbacks, two of whom we know are moving, a couple big names who are definitely on the move, one of which is in a very famous darkness retreat right now. And we'll talk about him, my favorite guy, Aaron Rodgers. But let's start off with someone we know is being moved and who just got released just an hour ago, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Derek Carr has been officially released by the Raiders. He will be a free agent. He will be able to seek out any team. Last week, he had a visit with the Saints, pending the trade. But I think he realized that he can get much more money on the on the open market than he would in a trade. And he also doesn't want the Raiders to probably benefit from him leaving. So let's just go around where we think all these quarterbacks are going. Where will Derek Carr play next year? I will say the New Orleans Saints. It makes too much sense. They've shown interest. He's shown interest. He spent a lot of time in New Orleans. I think he can be a solid bridge quarterback who can help them compete in this not very good division. Saints have a really good defense still. Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara. I think he can make some noise with the Saints. I don't know if he'll make a playoffs, but he can do something with them.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree there. I actually didn't know he got released, but I thought that the Saints would trade for him in time. I mean, yeah, I look at this. Like, where else he could go. I think a lot of other teams are going to want to make bigger splashes. I think, again, this is sort of, I hate to say it, it's sort of like a mid-to-mid connection, you know? Like, they'll take him just because they don't want to make I think the Saints are also very cap-strapped, aren't they, this year?
They always find a way.
Yeah. I mean, they'll find a way, but I think it'll prevent them from making a much bigger move. So I think it goes to the Saints. Like you said, he can make the playoffs with that team just because of how bad the division is. But, yeah, kind of just a boring move, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with the division part. So, but unlike the Saints, I'm gonna go with the Panthers here. I know he had the visit with the Saints and whatever that is, but I think this Panthers team, very good roster, amazing receivers with DJ Moore. I think they probably have, if healthy, like borderline top 5 defensive roster in the NFL, and I don't think that's a horrible thing to say. They have a lot of amazing playmakers there. I think this team, if anything, if they get Derek Carr, and I think they can afford the cap space, turns them into a playoff contender again, just because how weak that division is with Tom Brady gone now. I just don't know if the Saints really want Derek Carr, even though they had a visit with him. He is a very expensive quarterback, even though he everyone might not say he is. You still have to pay him a lot of money, but I think the Panthers, with the cap space they have, with the talent they have, I think they can make a move. So I'm gonna go with the Panthers.
All right, next one, Graham, friend of the show's favorite guy, Jimmy Garappolo. You'd think by talking to him that he's a top 10 quarterback. I like Jimmy more than most people, but he's not a top 10 quarterback. But he has taken the Niners to 2 NFC championships. Mm-hmm. He put them in contention this year until Brock Purdy took over after Jimmy's injury. You can't talk about Jimmy without the injury history. That's really characterized his entire career in New England, in San Francisco, and now on another team. Where do you guys think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to go? I'm going to say the Jets. Schematically, it makes sense. Robert Saleh came from San Francisco. The offense is built around that same offensive philosophy that Shanahan has. Now, Nathaniel Hackett at OC, I don't know about that with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Hackett, to be fair, Hackett has thrived as an offensive coordinator before.
In Green Bay when he wasn't the play caller, though, with Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur.
Sure.
But
fair.
I think Jimmy makes sense for the Jets. They want Zach Wilson to stay on the team. He can develop on the bench, learning from Jimmy. And, I think Jimmy Garoppolo to the Jets.
This is a tough one for me. So there's been reports that said he's going to go to the Buccaneers, which I think makes some amount of sense because, after all, they do I think they might try to extend their timeline with Brady gone. They do have a lot of offensive weapons still. Um, I don't know. I think the Bucs should blow it up though. Personally, I think Garoppolo ends up in Las Vegas with the Raiders. Pairs up with Devontae Adams and his former coach in Josh McDaniels. Again, I think this is sort of a mid to mid move. A mid quarterback joins a historically mid team, and frankly, it won't move the needle much for them. I don't think it's much of an improvement over Derek Carr. If anything, it could be a downward trajectory for them. But I think they're ready to try to keep their window open and hope that Garoppolo can help. But in reality, I don't think it's that big of a move for them.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go with the Saints here. I know you guys said Derek Carr would go to the Saints. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a cheaper option. I think he is the perfect bridge quarterback for them. I don't really see the Saints, going to the playoffs this next year or even the year after that, unfortunately. But I think Jimmy G gives them the cushion time in case they go for a rookie, and I feel like he'll be, a good veteran to have in the room. So, I'm just gonna go with the Saints, just see and how that plays out.
All right, next one. This is the big one. Aaron Rodgers, friend of the show.
Really?
We talk
Who's
about
friend?
him. We do talk about him a lot.
Yeah, maybe a bit too much.
Maybe too much. He's currently on a darkness retreat. Apparently, he's done. I imagine he's done a lot of ayahuasca in the past couple weeks, coming in with a clear mind.
Apparently, he voluntarily entered solitary confinement.
That is the darkness retreat.
Oh,
It's a 4-day stay in a dark room. I don't know what the food situation is. I don't know what the bathroom situation is. He's in a 4-day darkness retreat.
When did he go crazy?
Huh? But anyway, where do you guys think Aaron Rodgers will play? Does he stay in Green Bay, or does the Jordan Love era begin? I think he's going to the Raiders, reunites with Devontae Adams in a poetic move that Devontae got shipped to Las Vegas, and now Aaron Rodgers is following him there. I think in the AFC West, even though Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, I don't know how good they could be with how stacked this division would be again.
The Vikings.
But I think the Raiders are there. But apparently the Jets are making a huge push for Aaron Rodgers. Nathaniel Hackett, obviously, is former offense coordinator.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to go. I think this Raiders team doesn't, frankly, have the balls to go after Aaron Rodgers and make another big move. But the Jets, this is a team. It's been bad for a while for them. They haven't made the playoffs in a while, and they finally got some semblance of hope last year until things really came falling apart due to that quarterback position. I think this is a front office that is raring to make a move. They know, I think the Bills showed a lot of flaws this year. They know that they have a chance at winning this division, even with the Bills and the Dolphins and a perennially decent Packers team, I think.
Patriots
team. I think this Jets team showed that with their defense, with their young offensive weapons, they can get something going. And if you put a veteran quarterback in all of that, it is a recipe for success.
Yeah, if dude, I don't know if the Jets can afford Aaron Rodgers. Like, he's short term. He's going to ask for a lot. This Jets team is going to, they're all rookies, so you're going to have to pay them as well. Yeah, he's going to reunite with Nathaniel Hackett. But, like Arjun said, Nathaniel Hackett wasn't calling the plays in Green Bay. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers wants to go to the Jets. He probably does, honestly. But I think he'll stick back in Green Bay, just like last year. I think he's a big crybaby. I think he's a big drama queen. Nothing's gonna happen, just like usual. I think he's gonna stay in the Green Bay. So
we had this conversation last year.
A year ago, just exactly a year ago.
Yeah. We had this conversation. We said, he's going to go to the Broncos. He's going to go here. And yeah, you're right, sure. I mean, he just ended up sticking around and robbing Jordan Love of another year.
But I think the difference is now it seems that last year was more of a Rodgers wants to leave the Packers, right? Or he's angling to leave the. I think it's the opposite this year.
This year, the Packers.
I think the Packers now are ready to move on from Rodgers. So we'll see. I'm more confident than I've ever been that Rodgers is.
I think he will get moved still, but I'm just saying. I see the validity in your point. Okay, I'm gonna intro this one because this is my favorite.
I don't want to intro him.
One of my favorite quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, former MVP.
Oh my God!
Arguably the best rushing quarterback to ever play the game. And truly,
Jalen Hurts
ever play the game?
I don't know. Only one has been to a Super Bowl.
Only one has won MVP. Lamar Jackson, obviously, he's been in contract talks with the Ravens since last offseason. They didn't resolve anything. He played this year out. Now he's a free agent. So there's a lot of talks. Either the Ravens trade or tag him and trade him, and somewhere where he gets a long-term deal, or the Ravens cough the money and give him that guaranteed money that he's requesting, which amounts to over $50 million a year, in that Deshaun Watson range, which arguably is what he deserves, considering how instrumental he is to this team's success. So I'm going to start. I'm going to say he sticks with the Ravens, and I really, really hope that he does. I mean, I think the Ravens and Lamar are a match made in heaven. When you look at how John Harbaugh, managed to. I mean, he built this entire offense to work around Lamar, right? I mean, this is a Lamar-centric offense that works, perfectly when he's under center. The running game, I thought, started to get better towards the end of the year with J.K. Dobbins back in the fold. They need a receiver. Mark Andrews was injured for a lot of the year, which I think hurt them as well. This is a top 5 defense. It got proven when Roquan Smith was back, or when he got traded over to the Ravens. I think the Ravens realize that they need to pay Lamar, or Lamar realizes that his best chance of winning is with the Ravens. I think they come to some sort of agreement, and have a really, really good next year if everyone manages to stay healthy. Again, it's just too perfect of a match, I think, with the way that these two entities work with one another, and how the highs that they can reach, I think are too high for the Ravens to let him walk.
Yeah, for me, I just don't think Lamar actually fits anywhere that well. It's not a matter of like how much the team has done for him. It's just about his fit as well. I think the Ravens are just gonna franchise tag him, honestly, and if he will get moved, he'll get moved next year. Like I feel like that's what's gonna happen.
He won't play on a tag.
I don't think
He won't play on
a
it. He
tag.
will not play on the tag.
And rightfully so.
Yeah. I guess I'm the only one. I don't
think he'll get moved. That's fine.
Okay.
I think he's getting moved. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's a hell of a lot of smoke here. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens have been in this, like you said, for over a year now. And the problem is that in this past year, the divide between them has grown even farther, right? The Ravens had concerns about his injury history last year, which is why they were willing to give him the guaranteed money that he wanted, which is what Deshaun Watson got, which is $250 million guaranteed. The Ravens are not willing to come to that number. And there was a report that as of, I think, a couple weeks ago, or just last week, I think, they are as much as $100 million apart on guaranteed money in terms of what both sides are willing to pay. Lamar wants that guaranteed money, and he's going to be even more in vouching for that now because he's been injured these past years. And for that exact same reason, Baltimore is going to be unwilling to pay it. And I think both these teams are okay. Lamar can command a huge value for the Ravens. They can get 3 first-round picks, maybe even 4 for Lamar Jackson if they trade him. And for that reason, I think a couple teams will be willing to pay Lamar, and I think the Atlanta Falcons make sense for me. Arthur Smith has been able, when he was on the Titans, he was able to craft a really smart running game. This year, with not much, the Falcons still had a really good running game with Tyler Algier, Caleb Huntley, Cordero Patterson. He had a really good run game, and with not very good quarterback play, too. Gets Kyle Pitts, Drake London. He gets a good offensive play caller and a division that he would automatically, easily be the best quarterback, and he would make them the division favorite. I think the Falcons make a lot of sense for Lamar. I think it's a fit for both of them, and I think they'll pay him the money. And I think a change of scenery could be good for Lamar. But as we're getting to the end of this episode and the final episode of Season 2 of On the Turf, a year ago, we made our way too early Super Bowl predictions for the following year. I think all of us agreed and said Bills-Rams. And all of us were way off. So I'm hoping we'll all pick different ones this time. I'll go first. I think I actually have the most vanilla pick of all 3 of us. I'm gonna say the pick that I said would happen at the start of the playoffs. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are back. I think they're against the San Francisco 49ers, led by Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy.
But Brock Purdy's gonna be out for a good bit.
No, he'll be back. And even then, they have Trey Lance to start the season. I think. And Rohan, you can get back on your Trey Lance hate this offseason when Season 3 comes around. But I think Trey Lance can hold down the fort at the beginning of the season. Brock Purdy will be back. And I think Brock Purdy takes a step forward this season and continues where he left off. I think this 49ers team is ready. Everyone should be coming back for this team. And I think they're going to be just a buzzsaw. I do think the Eagles are still going to be there. I think the Cowboys are still going to be in that conversation. But the 49ers, Brock Purdy, I think they can do it. And obviously the Chiefs are still going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense with that Niners pick. I do think that quarterback position is of concern. You have two rookie Trey Lance kind of rookie in my eyes still. But 2 young quarterbacks coming off of injury. You got to choose between one of them. It's a tough situation. And we'll see if either of them can last a full year, not only in terms of injury health, but in terms of, being productive and seeing if defense can figure them out. My pick, well, this is very dependent on what we were just talking about. But I'm going to say the Baltimore Ravens versus the Philadelphia Eagles.
Ugh.
2 of the best running quarterbacks in the game. Now, hear me out. So, Eagles, first of all, I think that's pretty understandable. Hurts will be back. Most of your offensive weapons are back. Ideally, most of your offensive line is back too if Jason Kelce doesn't retire. Defensively, you might who are some you might lose Darius.
I think I think most of the people. Fletcher Cox may retire.
Cox, yeah.
A lot of the D-line rotations, Sue, Hargrave, they may lose some of them.
Yeah.
They have Jordan Davis, who's young, and they drafted in the first round.
Yeah, this Hassan Reddick who's one of their key pieces. I think this team is going to have a lot of continuity. They'll be fine. Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, this hinges on a few things. First, Lamar has to stay. If Lamar doesn't stay, then this pick, forget about it. I think the Baltimore Ravens, if Lamar stays, and another big if, they go out and get a mid-tier wide receiver. They go out and get a receiver.
Might I suggest a lightly used DeAndre Hopkins?
I think I'd be happy with that. I think I wouldn't mind if we traded away D-Hop to the Ravens. But if they can get a receiver and Lamar stays healthy and stays with the team, I think this is a team that is better than the Bengals and can win the division. I think this is a team that plays a style of football that can confound other top-tier teams like the Chiefs, like maybe the Chargers, and find their way in the Super Bowl. Again, it's very contingent on Lamar, but if Lamar is back, this Ravens team is very, very good, and they hit their stride defensively at the end of last year. And if the offense can pick up with Lamar, I think that this is one of the most well-rounded, put-together teams going into next year. Do you like that one, Arjun?
I do not. I do not. I think the Eagles one's fine. Just no, not the Ravens.
Okay, good to know. Thank
No.
you, Sri. Sri. We see what Shri's written down here.
All right, Sri, go ahead.
All right,
We want to give everyone a
so-
warning.
Okay.
This might be the words of someone on some sort of drug.
Yeah. Viewer discretion is advised.
If your discretion is advised, you're about to see some graphic stuff in terms of what drug use can do to you.
Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead.
Actually for Arjun and Rohan, it's gonna be a little bit different of a pick that is written down. Actually,
Shoot.
Whoa.
It's gonna be a little more. I think it actually might be a little more.
All right, say the goddamn picture. All right, you're building it up too much.
For my AFC pick, I'm gonna take the Denver Broncos. I think this team, with Sean Payton,
So that's what he had written down.
with Russell Wilson, I
was
think
gonna
this
take that
team
one.
is just it's
hoping.
stacked. Okay, Mahomes, he's made 3 AFC championships. 5 AFC championships. But guess what? He lost 2 of them. Like this
Is that your argument? Is that your argument?
He's made it 5
I'm
times.
just saying. I'm making like a response to like whether the Chiefs would make it, right? I think this team is going to be stacked. I think they have the head coach. Russell Wilson is going to turn into his prime, or like something like that at least.
Turn back.
Something like
He's gonna
that.
revert.
With a good head coach. He's not going to get hurt. I think that he has amazing weapons around him. He has an amazing roster. I think the Denver Broncos are seriously going to be a threat next year. On the NFC end, and this is something that I genuinely believe. Okay.
Okay. To be fair,
We're talking
let's
about the
get,
Eagles
so
getting
first off,
old.
he put the Rams down originally.
And we were okay with that. We like the Rams.
The Rams made sense. I think if you look back to their Super Bowl run 2 years ago, it makes sense that if everyone comes back from injury, that could happen.
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna say the Vikings. Is that right, Shri?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh my God,
right?
Sri.
Oh, no.
Guys,
No way.
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna be wrong. I was
Yeah.
hoping I was wrong.
Hear me out. This Vikings team, the one thing holding them back was their passive ass defense. Okay, they have completely pivoted away from that by hiring. What the fuck is his name?
Brian
Shit, I forgot.
Flores.
Yeah, Flores. Right?
Bro doesn't even know the defensive coordinator.
No,
He's just
no,
bro, he's just saying shit.
dude, I just had we learned it in psychology. It's like what do you call it? You like forget it randomly. Whatever it is.
So case in point.
Yeah.
This Vikings defense has turned into from one of the most passive defenses to one of the most aggressive defenses, We've
still have
seen
no talent.
what
Yeah.
Brian Flores has done with Xavier Howard, and I know Patrick Peterson is no Xavier Howard, but
Oh,
this team,
I don't believe
dude,
what I'm hearing.
I'm telling you, just hear me out. Hear me out. This offense is so good. This team is clutch. This defense is the
Clutch.
only thing that needs to change, and this offensive line, they can go get someone as a free agent, or they can go get someone in the draft. I believe in the Vikings. They got to the wild card this year, but this defense is gonna change. And they're
got to
making
the
the
wild
Super Bowl.
card.
Vikings, Broncos. You heard it here first.
Okay, so I see we're going
You
in a
heard it
little bit
here
of a
first.
cycle,
You heard it
right?
here.
We're going to season 3, but Sri is he's the same person every year.
Yeah.
He said at the beginning of the season, not only did he say I think he said the Vikings were going to make the Super Bowl. Actually,
I think didn't he say Kirk Cousins was going to win MVP?
yeah, I know he said Kirk Cousins was going to win MVP.
Yeah. So he starts off high, then the Vikings perform well,
And
and for
he's
some
like-
reason he dips then.
Yeah.
That's when he chooses to dip, right? And then he's low in the Vikings. He was low going
It's
into
a
the playoffs.
cosine curve, dude.
Yeah, and then when the Vikings flop, then he says, "Wait, this team is actually God's gift to earth."
Next year's our year.
He said, "We are cooking."
Yeah.
Okay. I'm telling you, this NFC is too weak. Okay, the Eagles are retiring. You know,
No, they're
Rams
not.
are-
No, they're not.
The whole team's not retiring.
The Niners are the Niners, but the Vikings are not
The
the
Niners are
Vikings.
good,
The
arguably
defense is
Okay.
consistently
changing.
good.
Shri, your original pick, the Rams.
The culture is changing. You heard it here first. Broncos,
not.
Vikings. Dude, this is probably
We
going to
didn't.
be like a
We
plus
didn't hear it here
11,000, like plus 11,000 or whatever, or like minus 11,000, whichever one it is.
Shri, I want
Like,
you to put
it's
money on
very-
this. You know what? Yeah, you bring up
Put a dollar on it. Put a dollar on it, Shree.
You know what? I will. Okay, I'll put $1 on it. You know,
That's how
All
you
right.
lose.
I
And
love
that, kids, is how you lose $1.
Yeah.
Don't gamble.
Broncos, Vikings. All right, if that's here in a year, this show is ending next year.
No, if that's here in a year, like Shree, I'll pay for your college, bro.
Yeah, we'll both.
Like,
we'll
deadass.
both pay for
I'll
it.
chip in and
Yeah.
I'll
Deal,
pay for your
bro.
college. I'll go in debt for
Yeah.
you, Shree. You're right.
We'll take
Okay,
out
sounds
your
good.
student
I'm
loans.
going-
Yeah.
OTO.
Tell your parents.
Anyway, all right,
Okay.
that puts an end on this episode and this season of On the Turf.
Yeah.
What a great season in YouTube. I think we had a lot of fun this NFL season. We'll be back in about a month to talk about draft, free agency, all of that as that gets started. But
But congrats to the Chiefs, our Super Bowl champions. I'll
Congrats.
grudgingly say that. And congrats to the Chiefs and arguably the best quarterback of all time, Patrick Mahomes.
yep, and we'll see if the Chiefs are back here a year later and who's back here. But based on our records, I think we just cursed the Chiefs, Broncos, Niners, Rams, Vikings, Ravens, and Eagles. So none of them are going to
Yes,
be.
sir.
Can't wait for a Jaguars Lions Super Bowl next year. But anyway, check out our Instagram for we had awards predictions just come out. We're gonna have some content, end of the year content coming up. Also on our YouTube, we're gonna be posting stuff, QB tier list, things like that, end of the year stuff like that. But thank you guys so much for listening and watching this season, and we'll see you around. My name is Arjun Ryan,
I'm Sri Baumkonda.
I'm Ron Patel.
and we'll see you in season 3 on the turf.